Shinichi Kanu passes a multiple-choice assessment test for a multimedia entertainment company Tech job. Nevertheless, he is drugged by his employer, Jinzabiru Matoba, who offers him a hot beverage. Shinichi awakens in an unfamiliar bed inside a mansion's bedroom. Spotting a maid in the room, he excitedly gets out of bed, startling the maid who falls to the ground. She quickly stands up and attempts to communicate with Shinichi, but he can't understand anything. She then takes out a ring and puts it on Shinichi's finger. Now, finally understanding everything, Shinichi finds out that the maid's name is Musil Foreign and, in his confusion, asks about his whereabouts. However, he is interrupted by his JSDF bodyguard, Minori Kaganuma, who tells him he is in the capital city of the Holy Elden Empire. Minori then pulls the curtains off the window, leaving Shinichi gobsmacked at the sight of a dragon and other fantasy creatures before she explains to him that he is in a parallel world. Shinichi soon understands everything after Matoba arrives. He takes the time to explain everything to Shinichi that the Japan government and the Kingdom of Elden have a treaty that involves Japan promoting its anime culture in this world as they have no entertainment. Shinichi is then tasked with spreading anime culture to the locals. During lunch, Shinichi sees Musil's ears, causing her to panic as half-elves are looked down upon. However, he then explains that her ears look beautiful and that he can see them up close. Musil then leaves the room after Shinichi gives her a paper about the basics of the Japanese language as a token of their new friendship. Shinichi encounters Brooke Darwin, a giant blue lizardman who works as the gardener. The next day, Minori escorts Shinichi to the castle to meet with Empress Petralka, with Matoba repeatedly warning Shinichi to be careful during the meeting. But Shinichi starts off on the wrong foot when he sees the Empress and exclaims that she is a little girl. The Empress, upset by Shinichi's comments about her age, reacts by landing a punch squarely on his jaw. However, her advisors intervene, restraining her. Matoba steps in and successfully resolves the situation, leaving the advisors sighing in relief. However, this sparks a confrontation between Shinichi and the Empress's cousin, Garius. Surprisingly, the Empress finds the situation amusing and, amidst the tension, gives Shinichi her blessings to promote anime culture in their land. Later that night, Shinichi reflects on the translation issue since the people in Elden can't read Japanese. He realizes the importance of finding an alternative solution for effective communication. Frustrated, he gets out of bed, heads towards the kitchen to get some water and stumbles upon Musil studying Japanese under the light of an oil lamp. Surprised at the sudden appearance of Shinichi, Musil quickly leaves her work before giving Shinichi the glass of water he wanted. Shinichi then offers to help her learn Japanese, which she initially refuses, but some nagging from Shinichi makes her agree. The day finally arrives when Shinichi receives a plethora of manga, props, and a hard drive containing anime. Now, it is finally time to begin his research, but before that, Shinichi decides to share some of his favorite manga and games with both Brooke and Musil. While working, Shinichi gets interrupted by Musil, who is confused about a line in a manga, but their conversation gets interrupted by the arrival of Petralka, who demands that everyone leave the room so Shinichi can teach her about the anime culture. While reading manga to Petralka and Musil, a jealous Petralka demands Musil leave the room so Shinichi can read her manga before sitting on Shinichi's lap. The following day, Shinichi goes to the market to understand what people like in this world. He is shocked to learn that this world still has a class system. Only nobles can read, and children are trained for the military. The next day, Shinichi reads manga to Petralka, with her sitting on his lap. Their moment is interrupted by Musil, who brings tea and snacks. Petralka, feeling jealous of Musil's knowledge of Japanese, becomes furious and starts insulting her, even attempting to hit her. In response, a furious Shinichi grabs Petralka's hand, preventing any further escalation before calming the situation down. He manages to calm the situation down as Petralka leaves, stating that she wants to learn Japanese and Musil should not learn it along with Shinichi. A month has passed since Shinichi learned about the class system. Today marks the completion of the project for the power plant and school system. As Shinichi and Musil engage in a small talk, they are interrupted by Petralka. She begins to boast about her proficiency in the Japanese language, proudly showing her homework book to Shinichi. Petralka then takes off her translating ring and makes Musil do the same before challenging her to a Japanese tongue twister, which Musil fails, making her act smug. On the other hand, multiple figures are spying on them in a cave through a glass orb. Following a class with 20 noble children, Shinichi and Petralka engage in a small talk. Petralka comments that Shinichi is the first person she has ever felt comfortable with. She goes on to explain that Shinichi is unlike others who seek to gain favor from her with hidden motives. When Petralka leaves, Minori begins to explain that Shinichi should be careful as the social norm in this society is different, and they are only interested in this project because it's something they haven't seen yet. Later that night, while teaching Japanese to Musil, she removes her ring and asks Shinichi to do the same. Afterward, she addresses him as master in perfect Japanese, causing his heart to race. Musil then expresses her desire to accompany him to Japan if he ever leaves Eldon. Shinichi, somewhat flustered, tries to gather his thoughts, wondering if she might be misleading him with her words and cute actions. When the school finally opens, Petralka, in an effort to impress Shinichi, completes 2 textbooks, but is envious when he comments on Musil's progress, causing her to lash out at Musil. But she is soon interrupted by Alessio, leader of the Patriotic Knights, who suddenly captures all of them. They then learn that Patriotic Knights obtained an orb called Exterminating Flame that can destroy the whole school. Turns out, Patriotic Knights is a minority anti-imperial group with no financial or political influence. While being threatened to have his neck cut off, Petralka manages to calm the situation down, leading Shinichi and the others to create a plan to escape. While out for the bathroom, Shinichi's alarm rings as Minori bursts out of the door, dispatching everyone swiftly. Seeing his plan fail, Alessio tries to activate Exterminating Flame but is stopped when Shinichi uses a fire extinguisher. Musil then saves Petralka from being stabbed by Alessio, making Petralka feel extremely worried about her. Several weeks have passed since the assault on the school. Thankfully, Musil survived her injury, although her recovery is ongoing and she's yet to return to work. Nevertheless, today marks the official reopening of the school. Disagreements arise among the students due to their diverse races, but Midori successfully calms them down before introducing herself and Shinichi. Together, they commence teaching the students. A month later, a fully recovered Musil returns to the mansion. Shinichi shows her his office, which is entirely covered in manga, explaining that he hasn't cleaned it for a month. Musil happily takes on the task of cleaning the room before offering Shinichi a cup of tea. The next day, Shinichi tries to teach advanced vocabulary to the class, which turns out to be really questionable. Minori then intercepts him and tries to teach instead of Shinichi's. But her teachings are even more questionable than the one Shinichi was teaching them, as the kids are only 10 years old. Shinichi quickly puts a stop to Minori's antics. On the way back home, Minori sees someone trespassing the mansion ground on her phone. Taking a gun, she and Shinichi quickly reach the location of the trespasser, who turns out to be a female werewolf, sketching the mansion. Shinichi gets excited after seeing her, but Minori quickly apprehends her before dragging her to the manor. After having a back and forth with Minori about Elbia, who might be a spy from the neighboring kingdom of Baharam, Shinichi watches as the army takes her away. The next day, Shinichi, Musil, and Minori meet at the castle with Petralka, Gallius, and Zaharal. Shinichi explains that art plays a crucial role in anime culture to get custody of Elbia since she can draw professionally. He is denied of his request, but refusing to give up, Shinichi tries to prove her innocence, but his interrogations only raise more suspicions towards her. In the end, Shinichi convinces Petralka to have Elbia feed false information to the Baharam kingdom, and Elbia is entrusted as Shinichi's personal artist. In class, Shinichi teaches about Gal games by introducing different games, with a student asking about his favorite game. Shinichi then pulls out SJ2 and begins to go through the opening sequence with his favorite heroine. After school, Shinichi heads home and sees Musil holding a big laundry basket. Upon seeing Shinichi, she stumbles and falls to the ground, scattering all the laundry, which is all of Elbia's. After assisting Musil in tidying up, Shinichi insists on helping her with the laundry. Musil initially declines, citing Elbia's substantial help, stating that her only skills lie in cooking and cleaning. However, with encouragement from Shinichi, she eventually agrees. After dinner, Shinichi inquires about the whereabouts of Elbia, and it turns out she has been drawing all day and locked herself in the room. Shinichi then heads towards Elbia's room and finds drawings scattered across, with Elbia herself drawing his picture onto a piece of paper with mad abandon. She then chases him out of the room with an intense look in her eyes. The next day, there is a heated argument between an elf and a dwarf, but Minori calms everyone down before anything can get intense. After school, Shinichi begins to believe that Elbia might actually be an assassin sent to target him due to the previous night's events. Soon, they head to the castle because Petralka asked for an audience with them. At the castle, Petralka starts acting like a tsundere towards Shinichi, which initially confuses him. On the other hand, Garius is seen enjoying a boys' love manga that Minori lent him. Back at the mansion, during their learning lesson, Shinichi offers to take Musil to Japan when he is permitted to leave the Holy Elden Empire, much to her delight. Later that night, Elbia pounces on Shinichi in his bed, his screams alerting Musil and Minori. The confusion is cleared up when it is revealed that Elbia is in heat during a full moon and has to lock herself due to not having control of her urges. The ongoing dispute between an elf student, Loic Slason, and a dwarf student, Rommel de Gardo, remains unresolved. Despite Shinichi's insistence, Petralka does not allow Musil to teach alongside him. After seeing a golden soccer ball found in the shipment full of anime culture material, Shinichi has the idea to organize a friendly soccer match between both parties and convinces Petralka for approval while explaining that he will take care of the sponsorship for the match. The students spend the rest of the week studying material for the upcoming soccer match. A week later, the day of the match arrives, with everything being organized and in order. In the first half, Romulda's team scores 50 goals against Loic's team due to magic. During lunchtime, Shinichi rants about the etiquette of removing a rice grain from an onigiri left on one's cheek before eating it. Petralka suggests Shinichi do it with her before doing the same with him. However, Garius removes a rice grain from Shinichi's cheeks before eating it, much to Shinichi's horror. During the match's second half, Loic's team also implements magic against Romulda's, erupting into an all-out war. The score is tied as both teams fall unconscious due to fatigue. With Elbia having the ball to herself, Shinichi is about to blow the whistle, signaling the end of the match. Petralka interrupts him, stating that she and Elbia will play as substitutes in a one-on-one match, with Petralka managing to score a goal with Musil's assistance. In the end, both the elf and dwarf students win a handheld game console since the match ended up in a draw. Getting frustrated with the company for always buying the wrong material, Matoba finally gives in to Shinichi's request for a one-day return to Japan. Musil, after hearing the news, is worried that Shinichi will never return. Once drugged, Shinichi is transported back. He wakes up in his familiar old bedroom and realizes that Musil sneaked herself in a second bag alongside his luggage, stating she is worried about him before apologizing. Seeing this, Shinichi takes Musil to Akihabara, the hub of anime culture, by train. Musil marvels at every single site in Akihabara. They spend the whole day exploring the area and playing crane games before heading to the maid cafe. At the cafe, they order omuris, and Musil requests the maid to draw Shinichi on her food. However, it takes her 30 minutes before she can start eating omuris. At home, Shinichi gets nervous around Musil when she offers to do his chores, which he declines due to embarrassment. Shinichi convinces Musil to take a bath and goes to the convenience store late at night to buy a change of undergarments for her. He rushes home quickly and finds her dozed off while wearing his oversized t-shirt. Meanwhile, Garius and Zaharl try to stall Petralka from seeing Shinichi, but she finds out about Shinichi's trip to Japan and leaves the room sad. The next day, Shinichi returns to the Holy Elden Empire, with Matoba berating him for forgetting to purchase the correct materials. Shinichi comments that his trip was not a total loss, with Musil making omuris for Elbia and Brook. Exhausted from her duties as the Empress, Petralka decides to run away from the castle. After a search, Shinichi discovers her hiding inside a crate in the storage room. Garius, who follows Shinichi, reveals that both of their parents died in a tragic attempt to kill each other. The next day, Petralka locks herself in her bedroom and puts a magic enchantment on her door, with Shinichi and Midori being the only people who can touch the door. Meanwhile, Shinichi believes that she is becoming a shut-in much like himself. Matoba and Minori encourage everyone, expressing confidence in Shinichi's ability to solve the problem, given his expertise with shut-ins. The others leave the room, placing their hopes on Shinichi to assist Petralka in her recovery. After convincing Petralka, Shinichi finally enters the room, and with some convincing on his part, Shinichi decides to show her the true lifestyle of a shut-in. With the help of JSDF, they set up a room for a shut-in and spend the whole day playing video games, eating snacks, and reciting shut-in pledges. While spending the night at the castle, Shinichi helps Petralka sneak past 2 guards to bathe. Meanwhile, Minori, Brook, and Musil are starving at the manor as Musil continues to stir an empty pot in a trance, waiting for Shinichi to return. As Petralka bathes, Shinichi waits for her to finish outside the door. He tells her how he became a former shut-in, mentioning that it happened after his childhood friend rejected his confession. Embarrassed after this incident, he becomes a shut-in and is confined inside his own room. Petralka begins to question her suitability as an empress. However, Shinichi encourages her to be true to herself. With his support, Petralka musters the courage to leave her bedroom and resume her responsibilities as the empress. Musil joins the school as a teacher, and things go smoothly. While having tea, Garius suggests that Minori spends her accumulated paid leave here at the imperial estate outside the capital instead of returning. Shinichi then lights up in joy at the thought of finally having a beach episode of his own. Shinichi takes Musil, Minori, and Elbia to the lake at the imperial estate in their swimsuits the following day. At the beach, Shinichi spends his time admiring the swimsuits of everyone, with Minori asking him to put sunscreen on her back. Later, Musil and Shinichi spend their time splashing water on each other. Meanwhile, in the capital, Garius and Zaharl persuade Petralka that if she completes her paperwork promptly, she can spend the day with Shinichi at the lake. Zaharl has even arranged for scholars to select the perfect swimsuit for her. Zaharl's scholars are in turmoil about selecting the perfect swimsuit for Petralka. Each of them put their suggestions on the table with little to no progress. While eating onigiri, Musil wants Shinichi to eat a piece of rice from her face like he did with Petralka, but they get interrupted by Loic, who tells them that Romilda's life is in danger. Loic then explains that Romilda was taken away by furry creatures lurking in bushes. Minori then takes out her gun as everyone heads out to look for the creatures who had Romilda. Upon spotting the creatures, Elbia falls victim to a booby trap while attempting to chase after them. Musil also gets caught, but not before successfully capturing the other two creatures. Seeing the situation, Shinichi rushes to save Musil before realizing that the three creatures are JSDF soldiers in ghillie suits secretly snapping photos of Musil, Minori, and Elbia in their swimsuits. This causes Minori to get angry, and she smashes the camera on the ground. In the end, Zaharal's scholars choose a one-piece swimsuit for Petralka, and she is delighted with their selection. After having her clothes spilled by Musil, Minori is forced to borrow her maid outfit. Shinichi, upon seeing this, immediately shows appreciation for her current outfit. Matoba then interrupts them by informing them that the soccer match footage taken by JSDF has been leaked to the internet. To keep the Holy Elden Empire from being exposed to the people, Shinichi devises a plan to produce a fantasy film as a cover-up. With Minori as the director, Shinichi convinces Petralka to be cast as a magical girl. After the shoot, Minori and Matoba are talking before they get interrupted by a JSDF soldier about the appearance of a dragon's lair. Guided by the elf student Luna to the dragon's lair, Minori agitates the dragon using a body spray. Irritated, the dragon attacks them, but Luna's timely use of magic saves them. Later, while filming the last section of the movie, the real dragon appears instead of a dummy one. Everyone watches in horror as the JSDF soldiers chase their artillery. The shooting ends with Petralka kissing Shinichi on the cheeks as gratitude for giving her the leading role. During the screening test of the film, Petralka is embarrassed about how her scenes in the movie turn out to be. She then orders the screening to stop altogether, but they ignore her orders. She ends up giving an imperial order to have it stopped at once. The film then ends up being scrapped due to plagiarism issues. Realization hits Shinichi when he realizes that there are several arguments between students due to a shortage of anime material. He also notices that Elbia has changed the art style of her sketches while an elf student named Edward has translated several light novels. Later, it is revealed by Matoba that they intend to start the invasion by introducing anime culture instead of using force. To add insult to injury, Minori explains that the Holy Elden Empire is a treasure trove of unexplored minerals and material. Shinichi is overwhelmed with guilt for being involved in an invasion and playing a significant role in it. He also experiences deep remorse for introducing anime culture. Despite this, Minori cautions him to be careful about the government, emphasizing the potential consequences and the risk of disappearing. During a tea session with Shinichi, Petralka shares how anime culture has impacted and changed lives in her kingdom, as she expresses plans to integrate anime culture into politics. Shinichi clenches his fists, feeling remorse. His inner turmoil leads to an outburst that leaves Petralka concerned about him. Later, Matoba informs Minori that Shinichi might need to be replaced if he becomes a liability and whistleblower. At night, Shinichi finds Musil making several plates of amaris for practice. She then thanks him for introducing anime culture into her life and begs him to stay with her after he talks about leaving. The next day, while having an audience with Petralka, Shinichi proposes the idea of producing anime culture products in the Holy Elden Empire, which would allow them not to be dependent on the JSDF. However, Matoba does not look so pleased by this turn of events. Petralka's personal maids manage to stop the ambushing JSDF soldiers from kidnapping Shinichi for defying orders. Although Matoba deeply apologizes to Petralka for this incident, he is deceptive. On the way back, Minori confronts Matoba and asks if he really thinks everyone will believe him. After finishing her paperwork, Petralka gets a report that the castle's north side has been attacked, thinking that someone might have committed an act of treason by activating the exterminating flame. Later that evening, Musil looks out of the windows and sees clouds of smoke coming from the direction of the school. Shinichi sees this and rushes towards the school to save the limited edition manga in the library. But as soon as he arrives, he is ambushed and sedated with chloroform inside the library by two JSDF soldiers. Musil, Brooke, and Elbia then rush towards the school on a mission to rescue Shinichi. Brooke quickly breaks the wall as Musil and Elbia rush in. Elbia engages the JSDF soldiers in combat, while Musil rushes inside the burning library and finds an unconscious Shinichi lying on the ground. She uses magic to stop a bookcase from falling on top of Shinichi while holding him close to her body. Elbia struggles to cope with the soldiers, facing a gun after getting zapped. However, Minori intervenes, defying Matoba's orders to assist in rescuing Shinichi and ultimately saving Elbia. After Shinichi wakes up, Matoba explains that the Holy Elden Empire might serve diplomatic relations with Japan. during a video call where a politician threatens Shinichi. Unbeknownst to him, Petralka eavesdrops on the conversation, listening into the exchange. Realizing that the situation wasn't progressing well, Petralka intervenes and threatens to sever all diplomatic ties with Japan. Faced with this ultimatum, the politician finally gives in to her demands. Following the incident, Shinichi and Musil enjoy a pleasant conversation on the windmill. Just as Shinichi attempts to express his feelings, their moment is interrupted by Albia, summoning them to the castle. At the castle, Matoba delivers the good news that Shinichi can continue spreading anime culture in the Holy Elden Empire, albeit with a limited budget. In the end, Shinichi resumes teaching the elf and dwarf students about anime culture when the school reopens. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and comment down your favorite part below.